Hey guys, I'm in the great outdoors, and today's video I'm going to dig for local clay. So I'm going to dig up in the ground. A good source tells me that there's some clay here, some red earth. I'm going to dig it up and see what we can do with it. Maybe we can take it back to the studio and try to process it a bit. All right, so this should be fun. I'm going to get digging. So I hit some, well, hopefully clay. I'm not sure if you can see, but down there is some, what looks like some kind of veins of iron. I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna collect some of that in a container and take it back to the studio. I dug down about, maybe 18 inches before I hit some of those. All right, check it back at the studio. My clay here, there's a little bit of like grass and rocks and stuff in it, and it's a bit dirty. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put this in a bucket, and I'm just gonna drill it up and strain it through a couple of colanders. Taking the clay, I'm gonna add water, a lot of water, and I'm gonna drill this down to a slurry. Got our drill and the paint mixer blender bit. Okay, I'm just gonna drill it up. Okay, power's not on, give me a minute. So there's some really big chunks, so I'm just gonna continue to drill. You can see all kinds of stuff, like I guess organic matter and roots and random things. And that actually honestly took a little bit more effort than I imagined, but it's a kind of a really beautiful color. There's a lot of grit in it. On the bottom, it sounds like there's rocks, but the color is really nice. It's more like orange brown than a almost like a fired terracotta pot. Anyway, so I have this really thick slip here. Now I'm gonna pour it through a colander. So I have these colanders, one with a larger spaces, and then one that's a little bit finer, and then this one for, I think it's for fried food. It's very fine. So can't tell you what the screen mesh is though. I'm pretty sure it's for pasta. So I'm just gonna sit this right on top and see if this scoop moves through. Man, I just had a great idea, although I don't know how well it would work, but it'd be so fun to have students dig their own clay. But they'd have to find a place to dig. Okay, so that's good. So most of it went through. But check all that. That didn't make it through. I'm just not even gonna try to push it through here. And again, there's like branches and roots and stuff, so. Now I'm gonna change the size, a little bit finer, and pour it through again. Look, there's still a ton of stuff. Amazing. This feels like rocks, like little stones. Okay. No promises that it will actually go through this one. Okay, so far so good. Now, admittedly, some of this fine sandy, the soil I was digging in was really sandy. I mean, it could be, give the clay body a characteristic I might like, but check these guys out. They're like, what do you call that? Exotrophic. It's like a interesting. So I'm gonna rinse out that finer pan and rinse out this bucket and strain again. Again, this is the finest mesh that I have. A lot of people expect local clay to be short, you know, not plastic, but you'd be surprised. I think as long as you get all the particles hydrated, and if you have a pug mill, even better. I don't have one, but if you have a pug mill, you can really pug the crap out of it, and it can get really nice. So look, it's still taking off sediment, sandy things. That might be it. So it's this beautifully colored, kind of brownish. It also does have, sorry, I get confused with this camera. It has a lot of little specks in it. Might be really interesting. So the next thing to do is to pour this out onto a plaster surface so that it can dry. Ignore the mess, please. So this is an attempt at reclaiming clay earlier that was abandoned because I waited too long and now has to be slaked down again. But don't worry. This clay, I'm going to check in on every day. keep your workspaces clean and dust free. So I have this plaster here. I'm gonna pour some of the clay slip water on here. Now here's the thing. If I was worried about the clay being super short, maybe I would mix a percentage, like 1% bentonite in right now, because you want to add bentonite in. I would like mix it up in a little bit of water and add it to it, but I'm gonna have faith that this clay is okay. It's very wet. I'm not gonna be able to put too much on here because these plastic boards don't have walls, but I'm going to pour a thin layer here. It's really beautiful looking to me. I would like to, it might be nice to use it as a slip. All right, that's super thin, so maybe even before the end of today, I can flip this over or maybe even wedge it up. I did want to mention another way that you could potentially make clay out of this. If you have an old canvas bag, like one of those tote bags, you could pour this inside, or an old pillowcase. You can pour this all inside and kind of hang it up somewhere. Hang it over a bucket if it's very wet, because the water will drip out from the bottom, but it will give you drying from all sides. And that's an interesting way to do this, but I'm using the plaster method where the slip is on plaster. The plaster is going to pull the water out of the slip, and the slip then can be wedged up. Okay? Hey everybody, so this is the next day. What I've done is I took all the slip that I had here and I layered it up and layered it up and layered it up. So there's several layers stacked on top of each other, and hopefully in about 24 hours, I'll be able to wedge up that clay. I'm gonna give it some more time until it starts to lift up on its own, and then I will start wedging. Hello, we are at the next stage of this process. I did throw with this before I started the video, because I wanted to see what was going on. So the clay is pretty interesting. It is a unique substance. It doesn't have a lot of tooth to it. It's extremely fine, but it is also a little bit short. So the first piece I threw here was had like stretch marks that were kind of fissures opening up. So the second one I coned more and it was fine. So what I'm gonna do is throw with this and do another little tiny vessel so that I can fire them. I'm gonna fire one of them to cone 6 and one to 04, and we can see if we could even do a little vitrification test. So anyway, it's really nice material. I like it, but I don't like it. It's got like a strange synthetic feel to it, like it's kind of jiggly and bouncy, almost like the 03 clay that Tony Hansen came up with on Digital Fire. That's made of mostly Fritz. Feels like that in a strange way. So I'm gonna throw a quick little thing here. Alrighty, well, that's that. For this part of the process, I am not going to be trimming these, so I can't tell you how the clay is going to respond to that. But I will let them dry out, and then we'll fire them, and we'll check back in with bisque. So the pots have been bisque. They are nice, rich, kind of terracotta color. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this one, mostly because it's the largest, and I'm going to fire it to cone 6. So then we can have a look and see what it looks like and do a absorption test. I might also dip one of these in clear glaze and refire it to cone 04. So the pieces are out of the kiln. I think they look great. I love the colors. So this piece was fired to cone 04 with a little bit of clear. This piece was bisque to cone 06, and this piece was fired to cone 6 without any glaze. I also did an absorption test. So this pot has a 13.9% absorption rate. This one has 15.1%, and this pot only has 2.1% absorption rate. So although I was afraid the clay would bloat or melt in the kiln at cone 6, it totally survived, and it's vitrified. These are more open, kind of like earthenware, and yeah, that's about it. Dig up your own clay.